Liverpool take on Spurs this weekend, and the Reds have the opportunity to wrap up the Premier League title. Kweku, it's been a bit of a procession towards the title for Liverpool, hasn't it? But they're finally going to get their moment on Sunday by the looks of things in front of fans, which obviously they didn't get when they won it last time.
Yeah, no, it was weird, right? I think Liverpool fans were probably rooting for Arsenal to get some sort of result because you always want to win the title. You don't want to be handed it. You don't want to be in the living room when you win the title. And for those Liverpool fans that didn't get to see it in 2020, this will be a huge moment. We all expect them to beat Spurs. Liverpool, in their last two games against Spurs this season, in the League Cup and in the league, have scored 10 goals. And it's a Spurs side that aren't very good. And so it seems like it's been a procession. And we talked about it a little bit off air in terms of maybe how unexciting this season has been. But I think Liverpool deserve a lot of credit for capitalising on Man City's fallibility, on Arsenal's fallibility when it comes to the Premier League. And this is a Liverpool side that have got so many Premier League legends that I think it would have been a bit of a travesty if they ended their Premier League career with only one title. You think about the likes of Alisson, who next season might not be a starter for them. Think about Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk. They are, when you talk about Pantheon of Premier League greats, they're amongst those players. So credit to Liverpool for this season, and Spurs will have no resistance for them come the weekend at Anfield, and I expect Liverpool to win by a few goals.
Kim, I'm certain Liverpool fans will feel very, very differently. But for non-Liverpool fans, it feels like the Premier League's been a little bit dead of late. You know, Liverpool are proceeding to the title is very, very easy for them at the moment. There's a huge gap. Do you think it's a shame that it's worked out like that? Does it take the shine off, at least from people looking at Liverpool from an outside perspective?
I don't think it should take the shine off Liverpool. I think they're a really well-balanced and well-rounded team. Like Kweku says, it would have been a shame for Virgil van Dijk, who's probably in the Premier League team of all time, to only win one Premier League. It'd be a shame for Mohamed Salah, who's scored and assisted as many as he has, to only win one Premier League title. So I think for them, they've just done a very good job. I think the problem with this season, and this isn't coming from any fan of a particular club, I just think that too much football has been played, and we've really seen it this season. We've been going on for the last 3 or 4 years about how much players are playing. There have been so many injuries this year, and I just think that this is the final season where the Premier League has suffered. I think it's not been anywhere near as interesting as other years. I think that's no disrespect to Liverpool whatsoever, and I think they've done a fantastic job, and it won't affect Liverpool fans whatsoever. But you are right, from an outsider's perspective, I think it's a little bit disappointing that we're coming in to the final end of the season and we're all a bit jaded, aren't we? We're all like, we know exactly what's going to happen. The 3 teams are going to go down. The Champions League is a little bit interesting, but apart from that, Liverpool won the league a few months ago. Let's be honest, it doesn't really come down to this game. They won it a long time ago.
Yeah, that's probably why it feels like a bit of an anti-climax. It's not to take anything away from Liverpool. They've lost twice in the Premier League all season, which is remarkable, really. And when you think about the fact that when Jurgen Klopp departed, everybody was expecting this drop-off, and all of a sudden, Arne Slot comes in, picks up from where they've left off, and done even better, in fact. Made a few tweaks, a few adjustments, which I think have served them really well. The fact that it is a bit of an anti-climax in terms of the title race, it's not down to them. We should be pointing at Arsenal and at Manchester City, surely.
Yeah,
and at Chelsea, who were in the race at one point, apparently.
Never in the race. But no, you're right. And Liverpool can only do what or take on the task that's put in front of them. And they've won this league at a canter. They've been the best team in this league. And like you mentioned, they've only lost 2 games. One of them's at home against Forest. The other game against Fulham a couple of weeks ago when we knew the league was already done. And so they're a great side. It will be interesting to see how they take it on from here, because Arne Slot's been very open about how he didn't want to upset the apple cart and how he didn't want to change too many things because Jurgen Klopp built such a great system. Now, coming into this summer, it's his chance to put his imprint on the team. He's going to be maybe without Trent Alexander-Arnold come next season. And I think that's when the real litmus test will come. Because we've seen managers come into the Premier League and win it in their first season. In Wenger's first full season, he won the Premier League. In Antonio Conte's first season at Chelsea, he won the league. Same with Carlo Ancelotti. Ranieri's slightly different because he was at Chelsea before, but his first season at Leicester, they won the league. So we've seen this happen before. It's whether now everyone's got game tape on you, now everyone knows how you play football, or if you can repeat it next year. And I think that would be the real litmus test for Arne Slot as a manager. But can't take any credit away from this Liverpool team. They've been great this year.
And it has to be said, what Arne Slot has done is really fantastic. It's an unbelievable job because there are only a few people in football who have had as good connection with their football clubs as Jurgen Klopp did with Liverpool. You think about Sir Alex Ferguson at Man United, maybe Bobby Robson, but like not many have had that impact on the city and on the club. And Arne Slot has come in with no personality whatsoever. He's come in with no ego whatsoever. He's understood that the team that Klopp built there was near perfect, And he's just tweaked it slightly to adjust for his playing style. He's allowed all of the big names and all of the big players to shine in their own right. He hasn't taken that away. As you say, he hasn't upset the apple cart. He hasn't come in and thought, I want this player who I managed last season here. He hasn't done any of that. He's just said, this is a fantastic group of players. I'm going to tweak it a little bit to my playing style. And they have won the league at a canter. And I think even if City were better and even if Arsenal were better, you can't really do much better than not losing apart from twice in the Premier League. I think they've done a really good job.
I think it was important, as you guys have highlighted, that he came in and sort of kept the good things in place and didn't really disrupt it too much. But I think if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be excited about what the future holds, because I actually think it's a real positive that a manager has come in and gone, right, this works. And my ego doesn't need to dictate that I'm going to change it or veer away from it. And instead, I can build on this. And I'm really excited to see what the kind of next steps are for his side. Look, they play Spurs at the weekend. Spurs not got a great record against Liverpool.
They're rubbish.
Stop laughing.
They're just rubbish.
Liverpool are unbeaten in their last 15 home games against Tottenham in all competitions. So that doesn't really give you any confidence that Spurs can turn up and spoil the party. But, I mean, Ange Postecoglou, for me, we've seen some reports over the course of the week, Kim, that regardless of what happens in the Europa League, he will probably be relieved of his duties. I think that's the absolutely right decision. I think he's had a disaster of a campaign. I don't think there's any defending him. I recognise there are other issues at Spurs, and those issues go above Ange Postecoglou. But so many other managers in the past have had to deal with those same restrictions and haven't delivered stinkers of a season like this one.
I mean, I've come on here every week and I've stuck up for him, and I still will stick up for him.
Why?
But finishing 16th or 17th in the league as Spurs is obviously completely unacceptable. The thing about Spurs is they're in the Europa League semi-final. They'll get playing against Bodo Glimt. You'd be very, very surprised if they don't make it to the final. And then they're 90 minutes away from qualifying for Champions League football, which is just as good as finishing fourth in the league. It doesn't really matter what's happened because you've achieved the aim of the season, which is to get into that Champions League spot. And you've also given a fan base who are starved of trophies unbelievable memories in the process if they do go on to do it. And I think you look at all the names that are now linked with Spurs if Ange Postecoglou is to go. People are mentioning names like Scott Parker. You go for a name like that, 2 or 3 years, you'll be in exactly the same position. No matter who they go for, in 2 or 3 years, I would put my entire house and life savings on them being in exactly the same position now, where most of the fans don't want the manager. Daniel Levy's not happy with the manager, and they still haven't won a trophy. Because that football club is not run well whatsoever. And Ange Postecoglou, he hasn't done a good job. Let's be honest, like where they are in the league is ridiculous for a team of that stature, despite the injuries that they've had. But at least he is trying, and at least he is trying to get them some success. And if they do go on to win the Europa League, it's been their most successful season in like 20, 30 years. So I think it's probably right that he goes. And I think for him personally, I would be surprised if he even wants to stay at Spurs after this year. We know how much he's getting affected now by the English media. Lots of managers do. And I would be very surprised if even he wants to stay. But if he wins them that trophy and gets them into the Champions League, surely, no matter where they finish in the league, that is a successful season for Spurs.
Oh, I actually would agree. Losing 18 league games is unacceptable. It is totally unacceptable. But unfortunately, Spurs are not Manchester United, and everybody kind of relates it to the Ten Hag situation. It's like, oh, look, they won an FA Cup, they kept him on, and look what happened the following season. But that's Manchester United. Man United didn't parade the FA Cup when they won it. They tucked it away and said that saved the poor season. If Spurs win this Europa League, they should name a stand after Ange Postecoglou. They will tour this trophy around North London for 4 or 5 days. It's a different situation because they're a fan base that have been starved of silverware for such a long time. And so I do think the remit is slightly different, and I do think football's a results-dependent business. And if Ange Postecoglou does win the Europa League with this Spurs side, I think he should keep his job, because not only is it the silverware, it's what comes with it. It's Champions League qualification. And we know how much Daniel Levy will love that. I'm not saying that he's the man for the job. I'm not saying that he's a good manager. But based on the remit of the job as a Spurs manager, I think he should keep his job.
I can't remember ever seeing one of the bigger Premier League clubs be so disorganised from week to week, lack structure the way this Tottenham side do, and rely as much as they do on moments from certain individuals. And they have got some good individuals in the attacking third of the pitch, I would say. Even in the midfield, there's a few decent players in there, right? I really like Dejan Kulusevski, for instance. I think he's a fantastic player. I think Maddison can have his days. I think someone like Bergval's a real exciting prospect. But defensively, they're a shambles. They're all over the place. And even if they won the Europa League, yes, okay, it's the trophy that Tottenham fans have craved for such a long time. But for me, the league position negates that. The league position means that you can't enjoy that, because if you try and enjoy winning what is very much a second-rate European competition now, even more so since they took the Champions League dropouts out, it's severely weakened the level. Bodo Glimt are in the semi-finals, with all due respect to them. It just says to me that you're almost giving Ange Postecoglou a pass. You're saying that this disastrous league campaign is acceptable because you masked over it with a trophy. And I know you made the Ten Hag comparison. For me, that's a very relevant comparison, because just because you get some silverware on the board, it doesn't mean your club is moving in the right direction. That's a great example of it. Don't fall into that trap, Tottenham, and I don't think they will.
But the thing is, what is the right direction for Spurs? They've had some unbelievably high-profile managers. They've got to a Champions League final, and then the next season they finish out of the top four. That is the history of Tottenham. You know, Chiellini said it, it's the history of Tottenham. I think alongside Spurs, only Newcastle I can think of who has such a stature as a club. I know you might not want to admit it as an Arsenal fan, but they have like 60,000 seater stadium. Regularly people go. They have fans all across the world. They are a huge club who never win anything. There aren't many teams like that, and I think people talk about the history of people talk about like the expectations of Tottenham to be like regularly challenging for the Premier League title, but just because they have a huge stature and they have a big fan base and they have weirdly a big history despite not being that successful, it doesn't mean that they should be regularly at that level. They are a Newcastle style team. They're an Aston Villa style team.
Yeah, but
and their fans would love a European trophy.
But none of those clubs would put up with the league position. No, so the point with Tottenham is, if Tottenham are expected to be around the Champions League places, let's say, because that's what they were under Maurizio Pochettino, right? If they're expected to be around 4th, 5th, 6th, and they have a number of injuries, doesn't go their way, and they finish 8th, 9th, 10th, I sit back and I go, do you know what? It's a bad season. Things have conspired against you. You're really unlucky. You go again.
Yeah, but the point
16th.
Yeah, but the point
that's
is
not acceptable.
But the point is, if let's say that the 5th space this year didn't guarantee you Champions League football, and Ange played fantastic football, they lost 4 games and they came 5th in the league, people would be going, oh, we should keep him. But they might win the Europa League, finish 16th, and get qualification into the Champions League, and people don't want him. But Kweku says it. It's a results-based business. You get money from being in the Champions League. You get players who want to play in the Champions League, so you can hire better players of a bigger stature. So if he wins the Europa League, they have got what their only aim is, which is to get into the Champions League. And they have the extra added bonus of winning a trophy for a huge fan base who are starved of silverware.
Well, my viewpoint on that and staying at Spurs is maybe a sign of my disrespect towards Spurs. They are not one of the big boys, and if Spurs win the Europa League, that's huge for them. If the man who delivers you that trophy deserves to stay, because that's your level. You are going to parade this trophy if you win it. None of the other top teams would. And so if the man who delivers that for you, despite the fact you've had a terrible league season, if he gives you that silverware after saying to everybody, I always win something in my second season, I think you should keep him. But it doesn't mean I think he's the right man. I do still think he's a poor manager.
Let's wrap up with some predictions for this one. I'm going to go with a comfortable Liverpool win. It's their opportunity to have that title party, and I think they're going to win 4-0.
I think 3-1. I mean, I think Spurs' eyes are all on one competition. I don't think they'll care about this game.
I'm going for 4-1. Liverpool is just going to be comfortable.
Let us know your predictions in the comment section below.